Shalom and welcome to this edition of Revealing the Truth, where we cover the headlines, the heartlines, and biblical truth. I'm your host, Messianic Rabbi Eric Walker. Our journey through life is filled with moments of decision that can change the course of events, as God does so often, suddenly. Imagine a life of glamour and adventure, from the modeling runway as one of Dior's top models to the back of a camel, on a harrowing journey through the harsh and isolated wilderness of the Sahara Desert. What was to be a simple adventure became a wilderness journey for survival and a reliance on God to help her find her way home and discovering Him in a whole new way. Throughout her life as an intrepid world traveler, Kristina Hurrell has been exploring the globe on a quest to discover extraordinary scenic destinations and ancient cultures that offer both adventure and renewal. She's the founder and CEO of Spafari and Eco Adventure Vacation Company. She's been featured in numerous magazines, health and travel shows such as In Style, People, Cooking Light, Heart and Self, Flying Adventures, Condé Nast Traveler, Allure, The Hollywood Reporter, Cosmopolitan, Today, A&E, and ESPN. She has inspired college students, celebrities, corporate executives, groups, and individuals to say yes to their precious life by climbing to greater heights in all areas of wholeness, faith and fitness, health and wellness, and empowered living. For more about Kristina, visit KristinaHurrell.com. Joining us now to talk about her new book, Captivated, How One Woman Found Her Inner Strength in a Harrowing Journey Through the Sahara Desert. We want to welcome in Kristina Hurrell. Kristina, welcome to Revealing the Truth.
Thank you. Thank you so much. A great pleasure for me to share my story, which has been sitting waiting to be told for many years. Thank you for having me here on the show.
The journey began early in the beginning, in your being raised in a home and having an adventurous spirit. Did faith play much of a part in your upbringing? Was the foundation laid that you would be able to draw on later, or did you live a life of trying to have a foot in each world?
Well, this is the 100 million percent truth that at the age of 7, I really did feel the presence of Jesus. And I had come out of Sunday school, was walking in the woods with my parents, and I felt His presence. And I remember standing there. My parents are in the distance, and I'm standing there saying, "Are you inside of me, Father? Are you inside of me, Jesus?" And then I really felt, if you honor me, if you love me, I will be with you. And that was something I shared with my grandmother, who would come and visit with us. And she said to me, she was telling me a lot. At the time, it was, "You've got to know Jesus through His true Jewish identity, darling." And that has been incredible for me, to know Him that way and to know all of His history. So there's many things that happened in my early years, from exploring the world. My father used to be a squadron leader with the Royal Air Force, and he would love to ask us questions. The dinner table, which was, I was the oldest child, so I would answer them. And I had a big map on my wall of the world, and I would know, the mountains, the rivers, all the seas that border. And I wanted to really understand what it was like to travel through the world. And at the time, also, I was a fit girl. I would represent my school in track and field. So I thought, well, if I'm strong and I have the Lord and I want to see the world. So that began my journey, really. Yes.
Now, your venture into modeling was a chance encounter, and a photographer and someone who you caught their eye, and it led to something that would become a high fashion career.
Yes, that's true. And I first of all, I had no idea that I was, that I had any hopes to be a model. I wasn't even in my radar. I didn't think I was photogenic at all. But, visiting a cousin in London. We were walking the streets in Soho, actually, at the age of just about 17, early 17. And anyway, a man walked across the road and said, "Could I take your picture?" Why would he do that? But my girlfriend, not girlfriend, well, she was a cousin, she had a police whistle, and she said that she would keep an eye on me if I went into the studio, and she'd blow on it and attract the police. Well, he took my pictures, a few headshots, and I left. I didn't know he was David Bailey. David Bailey actually had a movie made of him called Blow Up at the time. I had no idea he was one of the world's best photographers, and fashion photographers, that is. So anyway, that's really how it started. My phone rang at home. I was offered to sign with an agency. I did. I left home. That was a big deal. At 18, I started to be a model. Very soon it took off. And I really became a Dior model. But I was flying around the world, taking pictures and walking runways. And so that's really how it started, yes.
Now, in that experience, as you had seen the hand of God giving you a father who was testing you on places, but now these are places you could actually visit. And right. You were prepared, you were already familiar with the setting and the locations because of the drills your father would give you. So, God wastes nothing, and everything, all things work for good for those who love him and are called according to his purpose. So this put you in a very unique position where you were in places that you'd only seen on a map, you had only read about and studied, but now you were there. As you were surrounded by the glitz and the glamour and the bright lights, how was Kristina Hurrell spiritually growing? Or was she kind of frozen in a point in time where that was not being developed, that was not being nurtured? It was there, it was firm and established, but it hit a stopping point as life unfolded and kind of was parked on a shelf for a period of time. Is that how you would describe it, or did you stay close?
Well, wherever I went in the world, as a model at the time, if we wrapped up earlier than expected, the shoots, and then we weren't leaving the country for, say, the next day, I would take a little camera and I would take these pictures of the landscape, the people, the historical sites, the animals and things. And I was stepping out of my comfort zone in a way, but at that time I always felt I was protected. And but I would go into places where I would just sit and pray, "Father, please protect me here." And I really felt it. I felt covered. And it was a real sense of a relationship. I mean, truly, my relationship with Jesus, with the Trinity, Jesus, God, the Holy Spirit, has been the richest, most beautiful relationship I have ever experienced in my life. And so this is the beginning of it. And yes, I was still a teenager, and yes, I was still looking for what was out there and things like this. And there was no other relationship for me, but I really wanted to get to know him more. So a little bit how this sort of moved into this experience of going off into the Sahara.
As you interacted with the other models, did you find that the subject were these any topics of discussion? Was God ever spoken of? Did you find anyone who was a kindred spirit, or was this just all the glitz and the glamour and caught up in the moment of what to eat and what not to eat, and the interaction between the makeup and the hair and the changes and the walk and all that. Were you so consumed by that that there was no real interpersonal relationship to really have a kindred spirit or a friend that you could dialogue with about this?
Thank you for asking that, because it's been a very interesting topic for me personally. Walking with Christ, walking with the Lord, has been not at all lonely, because I haven't found many friends over the years who've shared with me my faith in the way that I have. Once in a while, somebody will come along, and that will be the most incredible experience, because we have the fellowship that grows and grows and grows. Those models in those days weren't at all interested. No, they were wrapped up in the glitz and the glamour. And that's really why I wanted to be a photographer in those days, you see. I felt, well, if this is a stepping stone for me to be a photographer. And at the time I thought, well, maybe National Geographic will take one of my photos. And there was always a hope that my next chapter would be that field. But the glitz and the glamour didn't work for me at all. I mean, it never has. Never has. I mean, I'm not, I just want to be who I am, not fake stuff, you know. That's very, actually, I had to say, when I first came to America, I thought, gosh, it was like Stepford wives everywhere. People had that sort of look, you know.
Yes.
But no, and God bless them, you know, God bless them. They were doing what they wanted to do. But so, going back to this, no, the glitz and the glamour of this life as a model didn't work for me.
So take me to this encounter. You meet a man, you are having a conversation with him in France, and he says to you in your first meeting with him that he wanted you to join him on a vacation. This seemed rather forward. This seemed rather unusual to be almost in the opening dialogue. I barely know you. I've just learned your name. There's been not much time, but you want me to go on this journey with you. How did that come to be, and what gave you the boldness to accept the invitation?
Well, first of all, I knew that if I did go on this trip, I thought, well, why would he even ask me? So I said, if I do accept it, it would just be with my own bedroom and as a friend. We have to understand, if you invite me, why would you invite me? You've only known me for a week. And so he said, well, there's another reason for this. He said, I have two friends that have invited me to go, and they'd like me to bring a woman, a friend. So I said, well, who are the friends? And well, anyway, we ended up the next day going to the outskirts of Paris to meet these people. And I was really shocked to who they were. And apparently they were, the reason for inviting two other people was they wanted to have their marriage a little deeper, a little more profound. And it wasn't at the time. And they thought if they have two friends, they wouldn't bicker like they had been, and they would just enjoy their time. So I was invited to North Africa. Well, one of the hooks to that was wanting to be a photographer. I thought, well, I'll take my camera and maybe I can find something interesting to tell you. You know, North Africa, how wonderful. And so that's how I ended up saying, okay, I will go, as long as I have my own bedroom. Yes.
So you accepted this invitation, you made plans to join him, and how did things start out? Were they amicable? Did everything appear to go smoothly, or did you have any sense in the early phases of this journey that maybe something was a little bit different than what you had anticipated?
There was. The woman who of the couple wanted to be the quote-unquote queen bee, and that was so okay. That was all right with me. You know, she in the beginning she wasn't very friendly. I found that rather challenging, and so I thought, well, if I just go for another day or two, I'll enjoy the swimming pool and the pool and the ocean, and then take off. Gradually, actually, as the days wore on, we became friends, and not really friends, but she was an easier person to speak to, and we were the only people at the hotel in the end, and so there wasn't much else to do, but we did get to know each other a little bit, and I accepted who she was. Rather an interesting person anyway. So that's kind of how it is. Yeah.
But the trip was to go to North Africa.
Yes.
It wasn't an extended trip to join a Bedouin tribe and a safari, if you would. It was limited to, we'll go to Morocco, we'll go to stay in the hotel, we'll see the sights of North Africa, and then you'll return back to Paris and continue with your life. But
yes, that was the beginning. That was the intent in the beginning, just to have a little free holiday. And I thought I'd worked it out, and I thought, well, you know, if it doesn't work out, I'll just fly back. And being a model, I had to cancel some work, which wasn't an easy thing at the time for me. So we flew to Tunisia. We went to an island called Jerba. That was the beginning of it. And then we flew to a place called Nefta, which is on the border of the Sahara. And whilst there, we were, as I said, we were the only ones in the hotel. Now, I just thought, well, then we're going to be there for a while, and then I'll come home and I'll take some pictures. Anyway, what started was this. The story really begins. There's the preamble to how I got there, and then an interesting Bedouin tribe comes by to dance for us. We're the only ones in the hotel. And the reason why we were is that the hotel had gone through a sort of a change. You know, they'd restored it in some way, and they wanted to gather more tourists. So they thought if she and she was an actress and I was a model, we could have pictures of us put around the hotel. Maybe it would attract the tourists. So there were no other tourists there at the time. Anyway, we were watching this Bedouin tribe, and this is sort of the beginning of how the sheikh, a very young, handsome sheikh, they looked like a little bit like Omar Sharif, a younger version. Well, Omar Sharif in those days, it looked like him, and he saw my camera and asked me if I'd meet him in the garden the next day. And lo and behold, I met him in the garden. And that's when he invited me to, because he saw my camera, he said, would you like to come and take pictures of my tribe for posterity? Oh, well, that was interesting. That was an interesting moment. I really had to pray about that. And I really did. I mean, I was wobbling about wanting to go, not wanting to go, feeling a little fearful about it. Who would protect me? Well, the Lord would protect me. I knew he would. But I asked the hotel manager if he could find somebody from the hotel that I could hire to come with me as a guard. Unfortunately, there weren't many available, and there was only one who could speak English, and he he was a sweet fellow, but his eyesight wasn't very good, and he was limping, and I know he tried to make himself available, but he was the only one available. So that's kind of the beginning part.
So your friend that you, or this new friend that you came on the journey with, he was now what, finished with his vacation and ready to return home, and you were approached to join them on this journey as kind of a Jane Goodall kind of moment of being able to travel with a Bedouin tribe and shoot a documentary by photo of lifestyle and what it's like to live and travel that way. I can see where, from the adventurous side of you, that although knowing some of the potential pitfalls, that you would cautiously embrace from an adventure standpoint, something that would be a unique opportunity to film, to add to your portfolio that might be of interest and marketable and launch you from the runway into behind the camera as opposed to in front of the camera. So this was the motivating logic that you were using as you were processing, should I go, should I not go? Is this a once in a lifetime opportunity to document something that others have not experienced?
Right. Actually, the friend that invited me to go, we sort of said, well, we like dancing together, so we said, we'll see you back in Paris, and I'll take off. And he said, well, just be safe. And that was so. He kind of left the situation, and he flew back to Paris. But anyway, I did call a friend in Paris who is an attaché de presse for Dior. And I said, before leaving, I said, Bernadette, please, can you ask your office to call the manager of the hotel and rope in the sheikh and have them sign an agreement that I will be protected if I go on this thing? And I said, would you also call National Geographic for me? And I said, would you see if they would accept my pictures? And she said, well, if you do go, write a contributing caption on each picture so we really know where you were and what was going on. I said, well, I'm going to write about my experience for sure. And that's really how this is an interesting part. I remember reading, of course, when Moses went off into the desert, of course Jesus did, and in the Bible. And I really prayed to God. I said, look, Lord, if I really go on this thing, I don't know. I said, I feel something deeply inside of me that there's going to be something going on here. Can I really, please go with me, Father. I want to hear your voice in the desert. This for me is a new chapter of my faith. I said, I can't just be silly about this and know that it's not really, it's about, please, it's going into the desert. And that for me was a big part. Yes, I was an attractive young woman, model, and the sheikh seemed to have an interest in me. He had very twinkly eyes whenever he saw me, and I would look away immediately. But it was really just about going into the desert with the Lord's protection. And every single morning and every single night, I said, I'm just going to pray, Father, protect me, guide me, cover me with your protection. And I said, but I want to hear your voice in the desert. So that's really when I started to take off. And yes, I was always fascinated to know more about these people. I got to see them through the dancing. Through my travels, my heart is always involved with that sweet energy that I feel when I smile at people in the cultures around the world, and we acknowledge seeing the sunrise. There's a smile that no matter where you are in the world, I feel very deeply connected to people. There's a compassion, there's a heart and I felt these Bedouin people, because they had that, everybody has it, and I wanted to get to know them that way. So that was another reason to go.
What was fascinating was that you ultimately accepted the Sheikh's invitation to travel with him, but you had to travel with the tribe disguised as a man.
Yes, I did. Well, I looked through the clothing that I'd taken for the little trip with these friends. I had nothing that would cover me from the sun. Now, my skin is very pale. I'm, Northern European skin and all this. And so I always feel like a blowtorch is on my skin when I have too much sun on it. And so I thought, I have nothing to wear. What could I possibly buy? So I went into this local souk, and I was flipping through the clothing, and I was finding long pants and a long sort of robe and this headdress, which is, anyway, all of it seemed okay for me to sit on a camel for I didn't know how long, 2 weeks, 2 days, 3 days. And so anyway, the guy that I did hire in the end, his name is Badu, he looked at these clothing. He said, "Madam," he said, "you've chosen men's clothing. This is the Bedouin men's clothing." I said, "Well, it's about the only thing that I can wear then. What else can I wear?" So I did, and I dressed myself up, and I thought, well, another reason to wear it was I wanted to be sort of androgynous in a little bit way, not to sort of go as a female. Who knows what that would have led to. Plus, I had heard from the hotel manager that the Bedouin men weren't that interested in, talking to women that much. I mean, it was about the men's groups, that women were busy working, the men were busy measuring their beards and drinking coffee and things like this. So I just had to be and I looked like a very young teenage boy when I was dressed up. I tied everything closely. I had a belt on with a little knife that I took for protection. I still have that, by the way. I still have it. And so it's interesting. Every time I see it, I think about me putting it on myself, going out there. And so that's what I ended up wearing. And it was fine. It was a bit of a fuss to keep maintaining without my hair falling through, flopping down. So it's just what I was wearing. Yes.
So it was intentional but unintentional, and actually very practical
Yes.
in the sense that it would not draw undue attention to you as an eligible female that might be the Sheikh's next wife or one of the other Bedouins' next wife, that you were toned down to the point of not drawing to your attractiveness. We're talking with Kristina Hurrell, author of the book Captivated, How One Woman Found Her Inner Strength in a Harrowing Journey Through the Sahara Desert. So far, the story seems harmless. The journey is about to begin. She finds the appropriate attire, and she's embarking on a life study, a photographic journal and a written journal to chronicle the life of Bedouins as they traveled through the desert. But all was not as it seemed, and the trip took a turn. And we're going to hear about that turn on the other side of this break. We'll be right back. Shalom. I'm Messianic Rabbi Eric Walker, host of Revealing the Truth, Revealing the Bible, and Revealing Prophecy, seen every week on the Igniting Nation Broadcasting Network. Our daily on-demand programming is available on our Apple and Android apps and on Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire, and Android TV. We broadcast live Monday through Friday through our apps on our website, ignitingnation.com, and on Facebook Live. You can listen daily on our audio platforms on Spotify, iTunes, TuneIn, and iHeart. Our lineup of best-selling authors bring you the most in-depth biblical insights into the most pressing issues of our time, including prophecy, Israel, spiritual warfare, and a wide variety of contemporary Christian issues impacting the body of Messiah around the globe. If you missed the live show, you can always catch up on the Igniting Nation YouTube channel. Follow us on social media and join us as we endeavor to heal the nations with the Word of God.
With today's smartphone technology, news, information, sports, and entertainment is widely available and almost unbounded. But what about the information that believers in Yeshua are looking for? Well, now there's an app for that. Igniting a Nation now has apps available for Android and iPhone. With our app, you'll gain access to everything you would in our website, from our featured guests to our live streaming shows. Visit Google Play or the Apple Store and download Igniting a Nation's new app today.
Shalom. I'm Messianic Rabbi Eric Walker, inviting you to study right by my side through the Biblical Truth Library. Imagine having access to over 1,000 hours of audio and video teachings available to you through our website on a subscription basis or via our Apple and Android apps on an a la carte basis. Whichever method you choose, we promise to deliver new insights into the living Word of God as seen through the eyes of a Jewish believer. If you hunger and thirst like millions around the world for a deeper walk with God and the revelation of new understanding of the Scriptures, visit ignitingnation.com and click on the Biblical Truth Library or on any device with our free app. Don't let another day go by without receiving your heart's desire for a new depth of understanding into all of God's Word. Shalom. I'm Messianic Rabbi Eric Walker, inviting you to join me and my special featured guests twice per month with Rabbi Zeb Parat and Carl Gallups, and monthly with Dr. Michael Heiser, Dr. Michael Lake, Dr. Timothy Jennings, Dr. Mark Baker, Dr. Jeffrey Johnson, Drs. Michelle and Mark Sherwood, Dr. Kim Moss, Derek Gilbert, Peter Rosenberger, Brandon Gallups, Steve Fair, Stephen Black, for in-depth insights into Israel, prophecy, the unseen realm, the brain, spiritual warfare, overcoming shame, mysteries of the Bible, prophetic insights, the sensational and the supernatural, caregiving, addiction recovery, understanding the divided heart, same-sex attraction, and much more. We're proud to feature some of the greatest biblical minds from both Israel and around the United States. Check out our featured guest lineup and 24/7 feed on ignitingnation.com or watch by topic on any device with our free apps. If you can't find what you need, you're just not looking in the right place. Follow us on social media and download our free apps today. Shalom. I'm Messianic Rabbi Eric Walker, inviting you to join me and Israel's #1 rated guide, Edo Canaan, for our annual Israel trip. Our 2022 trip is now open for registration for our 18th trip to Israel. Our trip will take us from Tel Aviv to the Galilee, down to the Dead Sea, and 4 nights in Jerusalem. You will walk where Yeshua walked and watch the Bible turn from black and white to living color. Visit ignitingnation.com/events and download the registration form today. No, it's not too early to take advantage of our payment plan designed to fit any budget. All of our trips sell out, and we want you to experience this life-changing journey. Registration is now open for April 2nd to 13th, 2022, and we promise you, you will never read your Bible the same way again. Shalom and welcome back to this edition of Revealing the Truth, where we cover the headlines, the heartlines, and biblical truth. I'm your host, Messianic Rabbi Eric Walker, and we're talking with Kristina Hurrell, author of the new book, Captivated, How One Woman Found Her Inner Strength in a Harrowing Journey Through the Sahara Desert. Kristina, welcome back.
Thank you so much, Rabbi. Thank you.
So here you are traveling with the Bedouin tribe, learning about how they set up camp, how they live, how they move from place to place, the position of women in the culture, the position of men in the culture, who carries the water, who tends to the flock. All these things are part of cultural and even some of their faith systems, which are not necessarily Muslim, but are influenced in their own way into their own belief system of a polygamy. They can have 4 wives. There are certain things that are ingrained in their culture, and even today in Israel, the Bedouins still are entitled to have 4 wives. So that has not changed through the ages. But you were actually headed to a destination. Did you know that there was an ultimate destination in mind, or was this just a journey that was unfolding in front of you?
No, I didn't. I thought I'd be there for just maybe 2 or 3 days. I had told my friend in Paris that I expect me back, or let Interpol know that I'm not back after, say, 4 days. But the thing is, they wouldn't allow me to take pictures. And now the sheikh had told me that they would. Meanwhile, and I trusted I trusted that. But once I got into the Sahara with them, and I'd whip up my camera to take a wonderful picture of something, they'd turn away and they'd say no, no, no to me. It wasn't no, but it was a la, la, la. And the sheikh would say, they just need to get used to you. First of all, climb this palm tree. Oh my gosh. I had to climb a palm tree, and I thought, they would warm a little bit more to me. No, there were 2 women, by the way, that were always smiling at me, but I wouldn't approach them much, but they would just smile. So I was hopeful, and the sheikh would say, just wait, hope, just wait, they will be okay. So we'd keep moving into the depths of the Sahara, and I realized after a while that I actually hadn't taken bearings on my compass. Now, my father had given me this compass, and he passed away just before I went on this thing. Why hadn't I done that? I'd noticed the sun, was setting here and the sun was rising here, but otherwise I hadn't really taken notice. So I thought, when I try to escape, I need to know where the wells are. I need to know different landscapes. Well, it was just Sahara, mostly. There were a few rocks and things like this, but mostly just Sahara desert. So the sheikh kept saying to me, trust me. Now, I was really noticing as well that his eyes were getting more and more twinkly towards me, and now I was getting a bit concerned. And but there's 2 sides of me. One is, the adventurer, with a sturdy British backbone that would keep on striding on, wanting to experience what I did on the next horizon. And the other part of me was the one that just had the faith, and the one that was trying to protect myself, this sensible one. What are you doing? Turn around, get some supplies and come back. But we kept on going on. And a little bit of time went on where I was actually singing for the children. I was singing You Are My Sunshine one night at camp. They would come over and they'd all start singing with me their little songs. And I felt, well, maybe they're accepting me now. Maybe I can take the pictures. Actually, and I did take a few. I snuck a few pictures. And then we finally kept going on and on and on. But there was always a couple, by the way, a couple of women who would have these mean-spirited looks at me. And, no, you're an interloper here. Leave. Anyway, time went on. And I finally, we approached, the sheikh who invited me, the young sheikh, told me we were going to his father's camp. And he said, there, I promise you, you can take as many pictures as you like. Just come with us. I promise you. If all this time you've gone, with us, you'll do it. So the guy that I hired to help me, Badu, this little chap, He said, look, madam, you've waited and waited and waited. Let's go. Mem Sahib, he calls me. So I get there, and that was a gulp. That was the most scary thing for me. Really scary. I realized that I think I might be taken captive here. I was pushed into a tent. I remember my heart beating, just the thought of it, my heart starts beating. I thought, oh no, I'm hostage. This is a harem. And the sheikh was very old. He walked towards me with these glinty eyes and, very, very old body. And I thought, well, maybe I've been led there. And this was very, 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 very scary. And I remember being in this tent with the sheikh and his father, the old sheikh and the young sheikh who invited me and his father. And they would chant. And I remember my own body started to, it sort of came up from the depths of my soul, and I started to pray. I was praying in the spirit. It was my prayer language, asking for faith, asking for help. Actually, I have never forgotten that. And Shalom was in there with the words. You're not supposed to repeat what it is, but it was very much there. And I felt protected. My own spirit had come up, and I knew the guardians of angels were around me, legions. I knew I was protected. And I had to get out. And there began really and truly a very, very, very fearful time where I knew I was protected. I had to get out, but I knew I was far away. How was I going to do it? And there were two people inside of me. One was thinking, gosh, this is a terrible thing. And the other part of me was saying, don't worry, you're protected, you're covered. And I'd flip-flop from feeling this fear and then praying and the Lord really guiding me, saying, trust me. And then I had to go out with the old sheikh on something that was the most, people have to read the book about this, but this was, I don't think anybody in the whole wide world has ever experienced what I went through. This is a most amazing experience that I went through in the desert with the old sheikh who was over 100 years old, and there was a reason for me being there. I was supposedly supposed to save their tribe. Now that was ridiculous, but I did survive it. Now the testimony today is, yes, some people could have perished out there. And then I knew I had to escape. And there was a ceremony one night, and while I was at the ceremony, watching dancing and so on, my camera, my compass, and the film that I'd managed to sneak and get was stolen. And I knew I had to escape. And so I asked this the man Badu, who's helping me a little bit, I said, just gather all our supplies. I said, we have to go. And the sheikh who had invited me said, okay, guide yourself by the stars. Now then, he had alerted me to the fact that he wanted me to be as a woman. And that was really the reason why he had wanted me to be there. He told me that he had been looking for me his whole life, and that he really wanted me to be his woman. And I knew that I couldn't insult him. I just had to say, look, I have to go. This is not my place. I'm a British woman. You're a Bedouin man. This is not the place for me. I flourish in greenery. I flourish in the seasons of the year. I flourish in, and I told him all the things I love. I said, yes, the desert is beautiful in many ways, but this is not the place for me, and I'm not the woman for you. And so he said, well, go. And so I did. We gathered the supplies, and that's when I took off. What was an amazing experience was, after all this with the tribe, with the sheikh who invited me, the young sheikh, and his father's tribe, there were many people. Finally, I had to take off and go off into this sort of, there was a ridge beyond the tribe. I mean, obviously it was beautiful. There was where the father lived. It was an oasis of greenery and wells and things like this. And right outside was the desert. So I had to go up into this ridge and take off. And as I started taking off, I heard them clapping and singing. And they have this shrilling, they call it, the women. And they were clapping and waving at me. And it was an amazing experience to take off to that. After all that, they acknowledged something about me. And by the way, they did know that I was a female in the end, because some hair had flopped out of the keffiyeh that I was wearing. Anyway, so I took off, and that's when the Lord really, I said, Father, please, I have no compass. Please come with me, Father. I said, guide me, you're the only hope I have. And I realized something was wrong, terribly wrong. I was very sick. Very sick. I had a terrible fever. I took off at a flopping on the camel, feeling really, really bad. And when we took off, the guy that I'd hired to help me, he let our water skins percolate out on the sand, so we had no water, hardly any water left. I was in the middle of the Sahara, far away from where I had no idea how I could get back. And I was sick. And my only hope was to pray. And he would pray often. You know, he was a Muslim, and his faith was strong, and he would pray. And it was just I really felt, you know, God bless him. He kept saying to me, Mem Sahib, God is there. You're going to be protected. Now, we both had our faith. I was praying to Jesus, God, the Holy Spirit, and he had his faith. And between us, we managed to come back. Now, he was very scared of me because he knew that I had something infectious, and so he was staying a good distance from me. And then his camel started to get sick. His camel had a bad leg, and his camel had a lot of the supplies. And so between having no water, hardly any water left, me having this terrible, whatever a disease I'd picked up, and I was in the height of it with the Sahara Desert heat, and his camel having a limpy leg, and this poor chap I hired having a limpy leg, and they were way in the back distance, and I'd be taking off, stopping and looking around. Are they following me? I didn't know if I could possibly make it. This was a, I mean, I think about this now, which is incredible, because there was one night when I felt the Lord's voice saying to me, trust me, I'm with you, I'll guide you. And I was laying back. It was a freezing cold night because we'd be walking in the Sahara at night. Mostly in the day when it was very, very hot, we'd try to sleep with the tent over our heads. And then I had the morning and afternoon where I would take his camel stick and I'd stick it in the sand and I'd look for the east and west shadows to see that we were carrying on north, which I thought was the only hope I had, to go north. I knew we'd reach something in the north. Anyway, there was one particular night, it was freezing, freezing cold. And I pulled out some things from my, from my little bag I had on the camel, a duffel bag, and I wrapped myself a little warmer and I laid back. Now there were two horns on the camel, so I had to go to the side of it. And I had my bedroll on the back and I'm leaning back and I'm looking up at the stars. Constellations were everywhere. And I had prayed, and the Lord said to me, I will guide you back. I will guide you. Trust me. Now, and another interesting thing was, I heard music in the sands. It was often the wind was blowing and it would blow through the sands, and I'd hear music. It was an interesting sound. And then I really felt the Lord's voice in my heart. One time it was like He was there. And I was leaning back and I was looking up, and these shooting stars were coming like this, and they were all going north. And I felt, well, He's guiding me back. He's guiding me back. This is the way. And I really felt like my prayers, my faith, my belief, my trust was keeping a lid on my fear. If it would bubble up, I'd pray and it would squish it back down again. The fear would go away. And I knew then that this was a beginning chapter for the rest of my life. That I would be, I had to trust in the Lord, and I always have, that He is with me. He's with all of us when we trust Him, and that I will be saved. I just have to mention this. I live up in the mountains in Colorado, and every August there's the Perseid meteor shower, and I lay outside, and it's my birthday, and I look up at these stars shooting across me. It just brings me back to my moment in the desert. Yeah, it's incredible. Anyway, so I got back to safety at the hotel, and I just kept thanking the Lord so much and reliving all these moments back then, and realizing that, well, years later, by the way, after there's been chapters of my life, I've gone through different things. Being a model, I went back into a little bit of modeling, and then into acting. And I wanted to have if I was going to be an actress, I wanted to play a part that was worthy of who I felt I was. There wasn't any parts like that. So I carried on in my life, and I was always fascinated with the culture of the world, the tapestry, the architecture, all of this. And that's how I ended up with a clothing line, and I became an architectural designer and all this business. And then I was running marathons a lot, and I lived in Malibu. I'm running the beach in Malibu, getting ready for a marathon I was going to be running. Now, this is an amazing thing. I felt God speaking to me again, and His voice is, I sat down on the sand and I said, Father, what is it? He said, I want you to give testimony to my presence. Oh, I said, Father, my whole life is about giving testimony to your presence. I said, how do I do that? Please show me the way. And he said, I'll show you the way. He said, I want you to bring people to me. And my heart was really, really open to the world. And I thought, there's so many people are struggling. So many people are lost, seeking. All they have to do is open their heart and let Him in. What do they have to lose? And so I really felt like, look, I love to hike. I love to be fit. I love to travel. Let me pull that in together. And so that's how I started my business. And I have been very discerning over the years to people that were ready to open their hearts to Him. And it's been a beautiful thing. It's been a beautiful thing, Rabbi, that I can look back. There's been many people now who come back on year after year, not so much year after year, but often. And we have that fellowship about how their life has changed. And the thing is, look, it's a step-by-step process.
Yes.
Trust in the Lord. We know
Yes.
that.
But you've answered his call, and we are out of time. But in Captivated, you have done that. You have shared your testimony of faith, of how God sustained you even in the most difficult of circumstances. Some of us will never have that wilderness experience, but will feel like we are alone in the desert. And your message is that you are never alone, that God is with you. And if you will just stop long enough to not assess your circumstances, but to release the natural, to make room for the supernatural voice of God, He will guide you, lead you, protect you, and direct your steps to safety, even when the odds are against you. The story of Captivated, how one woman found her inner strength in a harrowing journey through the Sahara Desert as she journeyed not just with Badu, but with Jesus. Kristina Hurrell, thank you for sharing this compelling story with us. And this does not even do justice to the content of the book, and I encourage everyone to visit KristinaHurrell.com and order a copy of the book today. It has been a delight. I am delighted that you are married to a Jewish man. It only exemplifies the wisdom and discernment that God has given you to marry one of my people. God bless you.
God bless you, Rabbi. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll send you a copy of this video to share with all of your friends and followers. And it has been a pure delight to hear your story. Thank you. May God bless you abundantly.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll bring you the next edition of Revealing the Truth.